Welcome to Gifted and Guided. I'm your host, Naila. Around here, we're all just figuring it out. Slightly confused, walking imperfectly towards purpose, but doing it with grace. My hope is that you take something from this episode and remember, you are doing your best. But the key word is doing. Keep showing up for yourself and don't overthink it. Drop a comment, share your thoughts, because your voice matters here too. All right, let's jump in. God's timing cannot fit on a wrist. What an analogy. All right, today's guest is Meosha Davis. I call her Mimi. She's a mother, a fiance, a director, a publicist, a writer. You can find her on red carpets, and she wears a lot of hats. But behind every title is a timeline that didn't go as planned. So, with that being said, Mimi, welcome. I'm so excited to have you. Oh, I forgot to also add, she was my first friend in LA. Throwback. So, okay, take us back to the moment that made the God's timing cannot fit on a wrist. What, like, before we get into that, the meat of the story, where did it all begin? What was going on? Where were you in life?
I was a young girl trying to figure out her way and navigate her way in the town that we call Hollywood. I had mentors, but I feel like the best knowledge you can get is actually doing it or experience, right? So, a lot of things were trial and error, but once it clicked, it was go time from there. Yeah. So basically I started my company after leaving a company, and I pretty much just built up my clientele from people I knew from college or just people I just met out and about. And for a while,
what kind of company?
Oh, I'm sorry, the Affluent Agency. We're still going. The Affluent Agency is a boutique PR firm. We do events, red carpet events, charity events, one-on-one public relations. So at the time, my main niche was athletes. So I worked with a lot of NFL, NBA players, and it was one in particular who is kind of the catalyst for the topic. Basically, I'm the type of person that I go above and beyond, no matter the pay grade, no matter what. That's just who I am. So in this situation, I pretty much took them from nothing to something. They were on the verge of getting dropped from the team. And when they came to me, I pretty much, were like, okay, well, let's try this, because they were very marketable. So I figured out a plan and we executed it. The player was on the verge of losing their position on the team. So I came up with the plan to rebrand them, remarket them, and it actually went well. We did Fashion Week, we did campaigns. I locked him in with a lot of like top-notch brands. And then he ended up staying on the team, which was great for us. And the team ended up winning the Super Bowl, which was like a triple plus for my business.
Right.
And then, so pretty much, when it was time for us to renegotiate signing, he decided to go with someone else. And I understand, I know how the business goes. So even though, yes, my feelings were hurt, but I understand how the business goes, but it was the way that it was executed. He had a friend tell me and not tell me himself.
Wait, okay.
I was fired by his friend.
Like, you were a part of such a pivotal moment in his career where you had to, you were going through the trenches with him, and he didn't have enough respect to tell you
himself, no. So I took that very personal. I know people say business is not personal, but to me it is. So I took that extremely personal. And then I went into a depression. Like I just was over it. Like I didn't want to do anything because I put so much into this one person that I was just like, okay, God, like what's next? Like I thought this was like my meal ticket to the top, and then it was just going to open doors. So with that being said, I took a step back And I'm just like, okay, what am I going to do? I need money. Like, that was like one of my main sources of income. And then to
Mhm.
make matters worse, like I basically controlled all of his social media. So even after I was fired, he forgot to like change his passwords. So
Oh,
I would still like
wow.
get alerts. And one time there was an alert. He did like an article. It was like for not the it was either it was the LA Times or it was some newspaper.
Mhm.
And basically they were asking him like, "Oh, you're doing modeling, you're doing this, like how did you, get into this?"
Hmm.
He says it was by luck. And I was just like, "Oh,
Wow.
so is my name Luck? I guess my name is Luck."
Whoa.
And that just made matters worse. I was just like, so I get fired, and the least you could do is like shout, if not shout me out, shout my company out. Because,
Right.
so that just, like I said, I went into like a depression. I stayed in the house. I
How
didn't
did
want to do anything.
you saw this through an alert? And
Alert.
where
Yeah,
were
I
you
got a
when you
Google
read
alert.
this?
Like anytime he was mentioned in the press or the media, I would get an alert. And
Okay.
I still was logged into all his social media. So after that, I
Yeah.
just like deleted myself out of everything. And I'm just like, what am I going to do? Like, what is your plan?
Yeah.
So I just had to find like a job, to
Mm.
sustain myself. And to me, I felt defeated because it's like all I've known is either working in the industry or having my own. Like I hadn't worked like I guess corporate America since I was like in high school. So
Right.
to me, it felt like I took a step back. And I was
Mm.
embarrassed because I'm just like, how do you go from Super Bowl, red carpet, Fashion Week to now you're working a 9 to 5?
Mm.
So I ended
Yeah.
up getting a job with the Boys and Girls Club.
Oh,
And
nice.
that was a whole part of like, the power of the pivot. And
Mm.
being there, I was so like I had to get over myself, but I was like ashamed. Like I didn't want anyone to know I worked there because I was just like, what are people going to think about me? Like how do you go from here to here? But what I didn't know was that was preparing me for my next level and being in
Mm.
that. And so while
Mhm.
I was there, I was ahead of the teen programming. So basically, like I helped them with their college applications, helped them sign up for their SATs. We did like various events. And then actually, like, they started doing events because I didn't know like the Boys and Girls Club is very connected with a lot of brands, like top brands, Nike, Puma, the Lakers, the Clippers. So I ended up being ahead of all the events that we did. So in my mind, I'm just like, I'm mad that I'm here, but now it's like you're doing events on this level and being paid my worth, like to do it.
Mm.
And then at the
Right.
same time, I'm giving back, to underprivileged kids. And the
Right.
crazy thing was like being there brought me so much joy, like more joy than I had working with these athletes or celebrities. So what
Mm.
I took from that was, sometimes, and I'm not gonna, I was mad at God. I'm like, what? Like, what? Like, how dare you?
Right.
Like, I thought we were going up.
Right. We had a
I went from the
vision.
private jet to now I'm like in my little Honda Civic. Like, what are we
Right.
doing? So, so,
Back
but I
to
had to,
life.
right?
Back
No,
to reality.
reality hit.
Yeah.
But I had to humble myself and just know that, God's timing is perfect. And even when you're in that waiting time, it's like you're being prepared. So, with
Mhm.
that being said, I'm just like, I'm doing events for Puma, I'm doing events with the Lakers. Like, you know,
Mm.
who would have thought? And they know my
Right.
name, like first name basis. So, sometimes you have to either be humbled or you have to, just wait, like my grandmother says, wait in the waters. Like,
Mm.
sometimes you just have to take a step back and just understand that God's timing is not our timing. Like I
Yeah.
wanted things to happen like that, but
Mm.
being there at the Boys and Girls Club prepared me for new levels to even operate in corporate spaces with what I did. And I was able to, build those relationships and use them to this day. So
Mhm.
that was a blessing in disguise. And I ended up getting 3 kids into college, full ride
Mm.
scholarships. And that
Wow.
just brought me so much joy. And then I was also able to just still operate in my element, doing like the PR, doing events, doing things like that. And then I even started a podcast with the kids. And then, I kind of, that was the time too, I started getting back into my writing. And then I actually wrote a show, Publicity Flow on
Uh-huh.
Instagram, about the whole situation because I was just like, I was so bitter and it took me a while to get over it. I was so bitter and upset. And I was just like, let me channel this another way because it's not healthy just being upset at this person for this
Right.
situation. Because at the end of the day, I couldn't be, I wasn't mad at what he did. I was mad at the way he went about it.
Right. Of
Because everybody,
course.
you should elevate. Like at the time, I can admit I wasn't ready for that level. So that was my
Mm.
test in that, like, okay, we're gonna sit you right here, and then you're gonna learn these skills, and then
Mhm.
we'll take you back to,
But
where you're
e
supposed to go.
even though you weren't quote unquote ready, you still operated as if you were. So I'm
Oh
curious to know
yeah, you
like
gotta
how
fake it till
you
you make it.
right. So how did you push through that? Like that uncertainty, especially in an industry where people are always trying to tell you who you are and try to tell you like what your value is and what you bring to the table and walking into that space not necessarily feeling qualified but still doing it. Like that takes courage. So
It does,
what
and that was the thing. I joke with my cousin. We both were kind of hitting the pavement at the same time, and I just feel like I was just so hungry. I did. You couldn't. I took no. Like you couldn't tell me no. Like I just.
hmm,
I don't care what anyone said. I just showed up. Like my
yeah.
mentor taught me, as long as you look the part, dress the part, and show up with confidence, you'll get into any room. So that's how I
Hmm.
operated. I just showed up, even though I would be scared. I would say a prayer and just walk in, and I just, you know, I know how to work
Made
a
it
room.
happen.
So yeah, you
Hmm.
just have to have that confidence no matter what. And it's like my thing is like, if I wasn't supposed to be in the room, I wouldn't have gotten in here. So I'm
Yeah.
only in the spaces that I'm supposed to be. And yeah, I just learned to just push through just every single time.
Yeah. So then fast forward, you're working for Boys and Girls Club, making a huge impact, and you build these new relationships with these huge entities.
Mhm.
What's next? Oh, and then you add on publicity, your
Right.
show that you have a pilot for, which I can't wait for
I know,
the
I
rest to
know.
come. But so then how did that translate into like your next season?
So after I left the Boys and Girls Club, we went into COVID. So literally, it was
Oh.
like I went from that to then COVID. So, we all had to sit down during COVID. We had no choice. So that's when I really honed in, started writing, just using, I told myself, I'm going to get paid for my pain. So I just started channeling everything, all of my experiences. Because like a lot of people, even though like we work in the business, like, and I guess I'm kind of, I don't want to say jaded, but I've kind of outgrown certain things. So
Hmm.
I don't get
Hmm.
excited by the things I was excited when I first started. I'm just like, they're like,
Yep.
oh, it's so and so. I'm like, and I used to,
Right.
I was at their house at a barbecue and what? Like, it just doesn't move me anymore. So
Yeah.
with that being said, I'm just like, okay, what's the next level? What's next for me? So let me focus on me and my experiences. But I know people who aren't in this, they care. So I
Hmm.
wanted to write it in a way, and I was inspired by, I love Entourage. That's one of my favorite shows. I
Hmm.
was inspired by Entourage, Ballers, which was pretty much my life, but on a female side. But I just noticed there wasn't any shows that were from a publicist perspective. So I
Hmm.
started doing that. And then, like, once things started opening up during COVID, like, I started getting emails from old clients, like, hey, can you help us with this? So it's like the floodgates just started reopening. And that's why I
Oh
said,
wow.
everything that I did at the Boys and Girls Club prepared me for what I walked into. So
Hmm.
funny, one of my old clients reached out to me to help with their PR for, or just coordinate they had a music video. So I was coordinating with the director, the producer. I got like all the talent, hair, makeup, wardrobe, like did everything. And
Hmm.
while I'm coordinating with the director, I was like, hey, I told him about publicity and I was just like, I want to, can I shadow you on set because I want to learn, I want to learn everything I need to know because I wasn't going back to school to do this. And he was like, well,
Right.
what better way would you learn than doing it? So he was like, how about you direct the video with me? And I was like, what? Like, really? Okay. So, yeah, he let me direct a scene of a video. And I was just like, after that, I was just like, I want more. And he's actually my DP. He shot publicity with me. So even from there,
Okay.
I gained a new friend, a new relationship in that. And he's brought me on several projects down the line, one of which won for best cinematography uh 2 years ago. So it's just like when
Wow.
you stick to your path, like things will open up. And
Yeah.
imagine if I wasn't obedient in my season of being at the Boys and Girls Club, I wouldn't have the things that I have now that have allowed me to navigate this new space of television and film. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And the fact that you built those relationships, but then you were also exposed to learning more about yourself and what you're capable of outside of helping others brand themselves. It's kind of like you started branding you and your vision. But it also gave you the space to create something that you owned. Because when you're in this space of doing for others, especially as a service provider, there's so much involved with it, but one thing is that at the end of the day, the client gets to walk away, and sometimes you're left with nothing. So then to finally have the opportunity to create something that you own and to stick to that vision, because it's been what, almost 5 years since
Yeah,
writing it?
it's been 5 years. 5
Wow.
years. Hmm.
Okay, so then fast forward, where are you with publicity and all
Well,
things?
I've taken like a ton of different meetings for it. But they kind of like meeting with like networks or studios, they wanted me to change the main character to
Hmm.
racially ambiguous. But my thing is like she has to look like me. Like she has to be a
Right.
brown girl because we don't have that much, representation. So
Yeah.
I'm very like hone in on like no, the character has to look this way, this way, this way. So that's why I went ahead and shot some of it myself so that I can be
Mm.
like, look, this is what I do on my own. I have a crew, I have a team. I just need a little more funding or a little more push. Because I found that when you do invest in yourself, you get to keep a little more equity, a little more of that IP. So like
Right.
you said, owning, like that was the thing I never before. It was just like I always wanted to help other people build, and I wasn't building on myself because that's just
Mm.
how I am. Like I want to see everybody win. Like if you have a great story or I can see how I can get in and like make it better, I want to do that. But I feel like for so long I did that for so many people and I neglected myself. So in this
Yes.
season it's all about me. And then even in
Yeah.
the rebranding, because everyone, yes, I still do PR, but it's like on a case by case basis. It's not
Mm.
it's not like my life anymore. So even
Got you.
rebranding outside of that, people still think I'm a publicist. So, it's rebranding into who I am now. Like, yes, I do PR, but that's just not who I am. I also produce, I also direct, I also write.
Mm.
I also, do styling here and there too. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just like you can't put yourself in a bubble. And I feel like sometimes we get caught up in thinking like, oh, well, I don't want to say I'm this because then it's like, because people can say like, oh, so what do you do? And
Yep.
it's kind of hard to be like, okay, I do this, that, when you do so
Right.
many things and when you're great at so many things. But that's why I like to say like I'm a multi hyphenate. Like I can do anything. I can do
Yeah.
everything. So
And it's also like, well, it depends on who's asking, right?
exactly.
Because if you're a football player and you're asking, I'll highlight certain things that you would align with or understand versus a director that's asking. It's like they're just two different lanes. And because you can do multiple things, and to your point, in a world where social media tries to limit our abilities by saying niche down. Have a niche so that you can get followers and your content can reach people. But TikTok showed us it's not about that. It's about creating stuff that aligns and that people can actually connect with. And because you have different variations of who you are, you have the opportunity to showcase that, but it's just choosing to do so. So to rewind back to what you were saying about wanting to help everybody, can you go into a little bit more about like your vision at the time? Like what vision did you have for yourself when you started PR and who you were hoping to become?
So when I started, there was I don't want to name her, but there was
Mm-hmm.
this lady who she's I don't know if she still does PR, but she was like the when I say the top of the top.
Mm.
Back when I worked for a magazine, um, she was over like a lot of top acts. So I went to meet her in her office in New York, and when I say like it was like she was on like penthouse level, had like the office overlooking the city. And I do my research on people. I knew who she was, and I'm just like, I want to be like her. Like she
Mm.
has it all. Like she has all the accolades, all the awards. Like that was my goal. Like I wanted to be like the Oprah of PR. Like I wanted to
PR.
be at the top of the top. But along my journey, I'm just like, what are you willing to risk or what are you willing to do for that? And then
Mm.
it got to a point where I wasn't happy. And
Mm.
it was just like, okay. And I told myself, I said, when I no longer love this, it's time to pivot. And
Yeah.
that situation with that client kind of did that. But it took me, I went to an event and there was this woman speaking and her story was so similar to mine, but hers was on the music side. So she was talking
Mm.
about how she helped an artist, built them up, and they kind of left her and went off. And so when she left, I put her to the side and I said, oh my gosh, like your story resonated with me. So I kind of gave her a little spiel of like what I told you. And she said, let me stop you right there. You sound bitter. And I was like, oh, she just like, was she just check me? And she was like, no, she said, you have to know within your spirit, within your soul, that no matter what, it was your work that made people recognize him in the first place, and no one can take that away from you. And it was just like when she said that, it was just like a light bulb went off, and I was just like, you know what? You're right. Like it was
Mm.
me building his brand, which allowed him to go to a
The next
CAA or a
level.
WGA, like that higher level. That was my work, and that kind of built my confidence as well to know like yes, I'm not like a CAA or a WGA, you know, I'm the affluent agency and I'm building brands. I just don't have the machine behind me, you know? So
Mm.
that was
Mm-hmm.
just like my thing, but it just got to the point where it was just too stressful, like worrying about like where the next check is coming from because you know as entrepreneurs like we have very high highs and we have
Yeah.
very low lows. So it's like,
Right.
you know, I knew okay, I'm going to get like this amount of money per month per client, and then it's like
Mm.
when the clients were gone it's like okay, what do you do, you
Mm.
know?
What do
So
you
I
do?
yeah, so I had to pivot. I had to hustle. Like I had to, you know, like I said, the Boys and Girls Club sustained me. And then
Mm.
when I left there and jumped into like the film sets, you know, then, you know, when you're working on set, you get like a nice chunk of change. So it's just
Right.
knowing how to make that stretch until it's on to the next thing. So after that, I worked on various projects. One of the projects is actually on Tubi, Small World.
Oh,
I'm associate
okay.
producer on that, and I directed one scene in that as well. Shout out to Enki. He brought me
Oh,
on to that.
Inky.
Um,
Okay.
so yeah, so that's on Tubi, and you know we're working on his first feature. So pretty
Mm.
soon we'll be able to announce like who's on board with that. So yeah, it's just like work
Okay.
brings more work. So it was like once people start seeing me do that, then people start reaching out to me to do their music videos and work on their productions. And I even worked on like this private project for J-Lo, which I was able to direct like a portion of that. So I'm just like, who would have thought I
Mm.
was directing something for J-Lo? Like
Right.
crazy, you know? But
Right.
yeah, like it just
It's just
kept going.
continued and
Yeah.
flowed. It's crazy because I guess that younger version of yourself didn't necessarily, did you assume that you would one day be a director?
No, I mean, I've always loved film and television and just everything entertainment, but I didn't know what capacity I wanted to be in it. I just wanted to be
Mm.
around it because I love, and that's why I worked for free for so long, because I
Mm.
was just happy to be in the building, happy to
In the
be in the room. And I'm
space.
just like, wait a minute, like, okay, I need to make money from this. But
Right.
no, I honestly, like, I thought PR was going to be it for me. And
Right.
then I just found like a new passion in directing. I love it. Like, it's just,
Mm.
it's something about just commanding people and people just hanging on your every word, looking for direction, and just bringing that vision from paper to the screen. It's just, I can't describe it. It's just, I
I
love it.
mean, you were truly being developed in that phase as a publicist to become a director. Because
Hmm.
everything you're stating is essentially PR, right?
Exactly.
Giving people direction, building that brand. This is the idea. Let's craft that into something from how you look, how you show up on interviews, or what we state and share to the media. Like everything you're sharing can
It all
transfer.
coincides, and
Yes,
I
it
actually
does.
use, and that's why I love like Ava. Like, Ava is like my, like,
Hmm.
I love her. She was a publicist as well, and now she's like top dog female, black female director. So I'm kind of following her footsteps a little bit, using the whole
Mm-hmm.
PR with the relationships I have to help me in my film, where whether it's like product placement or like the actors I have access to, just things like
Mm-hmm.
that. But I just like, Ava is like,
Yeah, that's your girl. Yeah. Okay, so what would you say is a gift? I feel like there's so many, but what gift did you receive throughout this journey?
whew, I would say that the gift I received is, a delay is not denial.
Hmm.
Just because something is delayed doesn't mean you're not going to get it. And I just feel like we want things to happen like that. But
Yeah.
looking back, had I been blessed with the things that I have now, I probably would have lost it all, went crazy, been on drugs, been like, because that's a
Yeah.
lot to handle. And mentally and spiritually, I was not ready. Like, I can admit that to
Hmm.
myself. Like, in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I could do this, that, but I wasn't ready to handle the magnitude of the access that I have now. So I think like
Hmm.
sometimes we get upset, and we kind of compare ourselves to others, like, whoa, how did they get that? Or, but it's just like timing is everything, and it just wasn't my time. But
Hmm.
now I'm just like, I'm ready. I'm bring it on. Like,
Right.
I'm so ready for everything.
And would you say that you approach things differently now because of that
Oh, of
experience
course.
of
Like, now, like I said, I don't want to say I'm jaded, but I moved totally different when it comes to things. Like, I don't let the money move me for things. Like, I
hmm,
have to really feel things out, because before I was so burnt out, because I was just like, okay, I need money, I need to do this. I felt like I had to be everywhere, and that's a burnout. But now I'm careful of who I let in my space, and I'm careful of overextending myself for people or clients or just things in general.
hmm,
I'm really in my selfish era, where it's all
hmm,
about me and it's my time. So, yeah.
Respectfully so.
Yes,
Respectfully
I've
so.
earned that, right?
Yes, yes. I would say, based on this story, you had the gift of being a vessel, and from the beginning, you you were helping this athlete who could have potentially been kicked out of the league. Okay, kicked off a team, changed the entire narrative, and based on insight. Clearly, God gave you the path, the steps, the insight to craft this image and the messaging to support them, to get them to the next level. And despite them not giving you the credit that you deserved, you still did your part by being the vessel and giving them a second chance. And then as you moved on, going to the Boys and Girls Club, you were a vessel to those kids who got a full ride to school. Like to, and then while doing so, you're receiving. right? And you're building these new relationships, getting exposure to another side of entertainment, media, and partnerships, to now being a director and writer who's telling stories that are important, that matter, especially because it's coming from an intentional space. And that will reach multiple people, people who you may not even meet. So it's just like the journey of being a vessel comes with its highs and lows.
Mhm.
And sometimes we're not given the credit or recognition for what the work that we put into making that said thing happen for that person. But at the end of the day, it's not up to them to validate
Right.
whether your work is good or not because God knows. And
And
it's
that's the lesson
showing
as well. That's
and
the
it keeps
lesson.
going
And
because
even now,
you
my kids that have graduated, some of they found me on Instagram.
social, yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, they call me Miss Mimi. They're like, Miss Mimi, can I use you as a reference for a job? Or I'm like, of course, like, so it's still like, it's funny, like even years later, they
Yeah.
still reach out to me. So that just lets me know, like you said, I was a vessel and I was there. It's sometimes it's bigger than us. Like,
Yes,
it wasn't
exactly.
about me and whatever it was. It was for me to be there, learn what I
Yeah.
had to learn, but also being there for them to see
Mm-hmm.
someone who looks like them, to let
Mm,
them know, like, you can do this too. Or even just
right.
being like that support system. Because, like I said, working with them, like a lot of them either came from like foster care or like,
Mm,
low poverty areas. So, just to see their joy in just doing the things that I find fun, or taking them to their first Laker game, or taking them to learn how to surf in Malibu. It's just all those things are priceless that don't match up to me walking someone down a red carpet. And I think
mm.
that really made me see that it's not all about the lights and the glitz and the glamour. Like, it's about the people you touch.
Yep, the
So I
impact.
Exactly. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm grateful for being there. Like, I'm not like, now I'm telling you, like, yeah, I worked at the Boys and Girls Club, but in that moment I was in my head and I was ashamed because for me, my level or my idea of success was like, oh, I have to be up here, I have to be there, there, there. But, you know, that was still me being successful because I was
Mm,
like making a paycheck. I was impacting
right.
lives. I was
Mm-hmm.
operating in my purpose, even though at the time I didn't understand it. I understand it now. But,
Right. Yep.
it was all, everything is like a lesson, and just being humble enough to look back and know, like, every stepping stone, every section of your life, it's preparing you for whatever that next level, that next season is.
Yeah, and sometimes that next season may not look like what you envision, but you have to
Exactly.
trust it and
Yes, you
trust in
have
knowing
to
that you're
trust
being
without a
guided.
shadow of a doubt. Like, you have to have that faith, and you have to trust that, like I said, God's timing. God doesn't operate in human time. Where it
Mm-hmm.
took someone 10 years to get, you can be in 10 minutes.
Yep.
So you just have to hold on. And that's what I tell myself all the time. I'm just like, look how you did all these things. And even like with me, I guess, like I said, I see myself on a certain level of success. So, but when people compliment me or tell me I inspire them, and I'm just like, to me, I'm like, I haven't even scratched the surface. But it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
to know that people look at me that way, it's just like, wow. Like, sometimes I think I do have to take a step back and just look at what you did, because I've done so
Right.
much, I forgot. Like, that's, thank God for social media, because sometimes I'll like
Right.
scroll back through. I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot like I did that. Because I'm just
Yes.
like striving for that next level. I forgot about a majority of the things I did, but people don't forget. And people, that's one thing. People do not forget how you made them feel. And
Yep.
so this particular client, I actually ran into him again
Mm.
years later at a Super Bowl, and he
Oh,
came up and
wow.
hugged me, and I was just like,
Wait, hug you. Okay. At a Super
yes.
Bowl at that. Okay.
But the point was, guess what? I'm here. You left
Mm.
me, but guess what? I'm here with another client who won the Super Bowl. So, it's just like,
Mm.
you can't
Oh,
let.
wow, full circle.
Yeah, I've had 3 Super Bowl winning clients. 3.
Wow.
Yes. So like I said, I had a good run. I had a good run when I had my
Mhm.
run. But just, you know, I remember I went to like church one day, and like the pastor was saying, like, you're fully healed or you're over something when someone who's really hurt you, when you have the opportunity to like be nasty or be mean to them and you don't. And in
Mm.
that moment, I could have been like, ugh, like,
Like,
get
why are
away,
you hugging me?
security. Like,
Yeah.
I could have been that, but I was just like, you know what? No, like, you see me, we're here.
Mhm.
And no shade, but you haven't been the places I had you after you left me,
Mm.
because
Right?
I treated all of my clients, big or small, everyone was treated the same. But now
Mhm.
you're in a big pond with the big names, so they're not going to give you the same attention that I was. And now you
Mhm.
realize that. And the fact that the majority of the people who did me like shady or wrong in business have always come back. Always.
Wow.
Because you're like, I'm a rarity in this business. You never forget how a person treated you or made you feel. And I treated all my clients like family and went above and beyond. And you're not going to get that everywhere. So even when they
Yeah.
try to leave me and think they can get better, they always come back.
Hmm.
Always.
And that just goes to show the importance of really understanding like the value you bring and
Right.
recognizing how you stand out in a space where everyone may call themselves whatever title you might have. And
Yeah,
it's
everybody's a publicist now.
right, but to what extent? And it's like you really have to focus on yourself. And they say comparison is a thief of joy. And you
It is.
really think about it, and it's like, well, when you don't compare, you can be present and you can actually enjoy that said moment, and you can recognize how far you've come, what you've done, the impact you've made, and also look at your life at like, wow, I've done so much. I'm so excited to see where I'm going next
Mhm.
because of my journey. It has nothing to do with the person sitting next to me because they're on their journey. So, you
Exactly.
know, for you to also forgive and move forward, it's like you don't owe me anything, even though technically you owe me a few shout outs, but you don't owe me anything.
Right.
I don't owe you anything. If anything, I learned so much from my
Right.
experience with you.
And
So
thank
thank
you.
you.
Yes, thank you.
And now because of that I move accordingly and I'm leveling up. So good for you.
Yes, yes. The level up is real. And it is. I'm just so excited about the next level. I'm nervous. I'm scared, but it's a good one. Like, if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. But like I said,
Hmm.
I'm moving into new territory. Like, I feel like I've kind of conquered the PR side. So now I'm
Hmm.
moving into like the film realm. It's like it's a whole new world. Like,
Yeah, it
it's
is.
it's very, very different. And the level of patience and faith you have to have on this level, like, yeah,
It's a lot.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you gave us so much to think about and you gave us so many gems. So I don't know if you have anything left, but we ask all of our guests to give a question for reflection so that listeners can take your story and align it with that question and apply it to their life. So, what question would you like to give us to reflect on?
Hmm. That's a good one. Hmm. Failure can be a good thing. Or how can failure benefit you?
Hmm. How can failure benefit you? That's a good one. Because most people will look at failure as a horrible thing. They'll just look at failure in general as like this negative experience. But it's
Right.
really that uh
That's how
it's
you
the
grow.
connector to
Yeah.
yes, it's a part of
That's how you
growth.
grow and learn. You have to learn from your mistakes, and that just makes you who you are. And if you've never failed, how are you learning? No one
Mhm.
masters anything instantly. You have to fail to learn, but it's in that failure, it's like, do you quit? Do you give up? Or do you keep going? And that's what separates the winners from the losers, is those,
Mhm.
they failed, but they kept going.
And do
Everyone
you
who
look
is
at it?
great that we look at, they failed so many times. They heard so many no's, but they
Mm,
didn't stop. I could have, after
mhm.
that client, I could have just said, you know what, I'm done with this. Let me just go do this or do that. And I was just like, no, like I can't stop.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
gotta
I,
keep moving.
I gotta keep going because I have people rooting for me and I have, the people behind me that look up to me, or I'm inspiring people that I don't even know just through my perseverance,
Mm,
and it's
mhm.
bigger than me. Like I said, my end goal in all of this, like, yes, we need money. Yes, we're in this for the money. But at the end of the day, like, I want to impact lives. Like, I want people to learn from my testimony and things that I went through. So hopefully they don't have to go through what I went through or find other ways and just really like my heart is with the youth. Like I'm so glad I was able to experience the Boys and Girls Club because once I get to like the level where I'm financially where I want to be, I want to open up a center for the youth that are interested in the arts or entertainment and
Mm,
provide free shelter, free computers, free services, whatever you need as long as you show me you're consistently following your dream, you can stay here rent free because it's hard. Like,
yeah.
it's being an entrepreneur is hard, and a lot of people don't have family like they can call
Mm,
on or a couch they can sleep on. A lot of people
yeah.
are homeless or, do crazy things, to survive. So I want to be able to provide a space that, look, as long as you're actively pursuing a goal, I got you. So it's not, that's why I'm
Wow.
like, I have to make the money to do that or just have that impact, So
Yeah.
that's my end goal in all of this is just to inspire and just for just people to just know, like, or even you don't even have to do what I do, but just find what you're good at and tap into it because the majority of the time, whatever like you love doing, your purpose is tied to that. And
Mm,
I think a
mhm.
lot of people do not know their purpose. I think a lot of people just do things because it's what's popular or what other people do. But
Yep.
whatever you're really, really passionate about, I really feel like that's what your purpose is connected to.
And it doesn't have to look like the it doesn't have to be in the form that you typically see on social
Exactly.
media, in the magazines, or even from the most popular people. It might
Exactly.
show up in a way where you're actually merging two different lanes, and that's what makes you unique because of your background, experience, and personality. So it's being open to
Exactly.
what that
Hmm.
looks
And
like
it's not
while
even
still
about,
following the steps.
yeah, it's not even about being famous. Like I working with the youth, like if you ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up? The majority of them will say famous. And it's just
Mm.
like it's so much more than that, and that's what I
So much more. Because
like
when you get to that point, you realize, like, wait a second, are you actually happy? Is this
exactly.
is this where you really
Exactly.
want to be, or what's next? Because even though you have the fame, it's
Yeah.
not the end all be all. Because you can lose that. So then,
Yeah.
what do you
There's
have
a lot
underneath
of
that?
famous broke people. So,
Hmm.
just because you're famous doesn't mean you're operating at your highest level and your highest self. Like
Right.
that's vanity, so
Yes. So you need
yeah.
to chase purpose and impact, and
Exactly.
allow that to lead you. Hmm.
Chase your purpose, not the vanity, not the fame, not the money, because it'll come. And that was
Yeah.
my whole thing. I never, when I started this, it was never about the money. I genuinely loved music. I loved fashion. I loved sports. So I loved just being in the mix. I just was just like, oh my gosh. Now I'm just like, eh. But
Yeah.
before it was just like, I just and I still do like certain artists like Beyonce. I gotta see a Beyonce or things like that. But as far as like the human being, I'm just like, we all bleed. It's not like I
Yeah.
would never put anyone on that pedestal like that.
If anything, you're respecting their artistry.
And that's what it
And
is. Like I respect
yeah.
because I know the hard work, the sleepless nights, the no's, the you don't get the acknowledgement. There's a lot in that, and
Yeah.
I think people lose sight of that. And you have to
Hmm.
really remember, like you said, chase the purpose, and everything it will come. Like I said, I worked for about 3 years for free before I got like my first big check.
Hmm.
Um, but I do it all again, like, because I loved it so much. I wasn't chasing the money. And when you don't chase the money, opportunities chase you. And that's what I said, just from doing that. And now all the free work I did, now I can go back and pull those favors like, hey, like, well, here,
Yeah.
Miss so and so. Remember, I got you in that party for free?
Right.
Yeah.
Come over here real
So,
quick. Let's have a conversation.
listen, even in that, it's all about building and building and building. So like now it's time to pull all those favors for all the free things I've done over the years. So it's timing, but
Understanding.
it goes back to God's timing.
Yeah.
Everything is in alignment with God's time, not our time. And when is your time, it flows and
It
you
flows.
just flows.
Yes, it does. And it's a feeling you can't
You
describe. It's just
can't. I'm just like,
like,
I really was trying to put it into words, but I'm just like,
can't.
it's just a peace a
Yes.
peace and a calmness. And it's just like, wow, you know?
And then when you really look at it, you're like, oh, I'm in alignment. This is making sense. All the
Hmm.
signs are leading to it could only be God.
No,
Like at
really.
the end of the day.
And that's what I feel like. I'm getting goosebumps right now. That's what I feel like with I can't speak for everyone's life, but I just feel
Mhm.
like the way my life has gone, it was undeniably God. No one
Mhm.
can take the credit for what's about to happen in my life. And I feel like
Right.
that's how it's been like constructed, because it's no way. Like, if people, we'll get into that on another day, but if people really knew what I went through and what I've been through, they'll just be like, what?
Like how?
Yeah. Like, how are you still standing? Like,
How
but
are you
God,
yeah.
it's bigger than me. And like, I feel like I really had to be humbled to understand it's not about you. It's not
Hmm.
about you.
It's not
We're
about you.
all here for a purpose and a reason. And then when that is done, we're on to whatever else is after this life. So,
Right.
mm.
Right. Wow. Well, Mimi, thank you so much.
You're happy.
So thankful
And
to have
can I just
you.
say, I'm just so proud of you too.
Aw.
Just you're operating in your purpose as well. Like, I just from when I met you to now, I'm just so proud of you. Like, you're
Aw.
doing everything you said you wanted to do.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It's been a
Yeah.
journey, and everything you're saying, I resonate on so many levels. So
Like that.
it's exciting to bring it to life, but I couldn't have done it without the support. And I appreciate you for all the experiences you've given me in Los Angeles and Miami when we went to Art Fest. I mean, and just simply being there, being a voice of reason, just you're just amazing. People don't they can't take that away from this podcast. I would say like they're gonna know like, oh, she's cool, yeah. But when you really get to know Mimi, you realize like how much of a big sister she is and how
Thank you.
she's really about pouring into the people around her and looking out. And I'm just so thankful to have that because it's so hard to find that in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So
And
hard.
thank you for saying that, because sometimes I don't feel that from certain people. So to hear you say that, thank you.
Yes, of course. And she's about to get married. Woo! All right. Well, this is another episode of Gifted and Guided. Stay tuned for another one next week. And Mimi, again, thank you.
Thank you. I can't wait to see it.
That's it for today's episode of Gifted and Guided. If this episode spoke to you, please subscribe, share with a friend, and drop a comment because I love hearing how you're figuring it out too. Until next time, remember, you are gifted, you are guided, and you're not doing this alone. All right, talk to you soon.